said it was going to be a good year in 2024 for Joe Biden and a bad year for Donald Trump. That didn't age well.
Actually, it's Joe Biden because his luck. The year is not so bad, but his luck is going down.
So then, what about the luck of celebrities like Timothy Chalamet, born in the year of the wood pig, but with a birth date that means
he's strong water. So that's why he will be into a prosperous year. Also, water means girlfriends. He has more chance to encounter girlfriends and more chance to make money.
Well, let's not tell his current girlfriend that.
And if you're a horse in a horse year, like actress Margot Robbie, Lowe says, watch out.
If you are the horse, you are offending the year, and in penalty with the horse means you have more worries and more trouble.
Lowe advises horses to protect themselves with a goat amulet. Look, in 2026, anything can happen. Good luck can come at full trot or not.
Secretary Rubio, we were saying, he struck a much softer tone in Munich, saying that the U.S. and Europe, his words now, belong together. I am curious, do you see this as a real policy shift or just a change in delivery, change in tone?
Not at all. I mean, barely a change in tone. And as you just said, he went and had a love fest with Viktor Orban right after he gave that speech at the Munich Security Conference. Viktor Orban, of course, is a total authoritarian and is exactly the wrong kind of model for the United States to be standing up. I wonder who, Trump has stolen Marco Rubio's soul. Marco Rubio had a very different view of the world when he served in the United States Senate. He was a supporter of the alliances that the United States has built, supporter of the rules-based order. He says that each country should act in its own interest. I don't know what he means. Does he mean that we should act in the short-term best interest of each country, or should we take a look at the long-term? Because certainly in the post-World War II order, the system of alliances led by the United States of America has kept the world safer, has allowed for more trade, has helped the United States to grow the strongest economy on planet Earth, even though in each and every instance we didn't always act in the immediate best interest of the United States. We always looked for what was in the long-term best interest of the United States of America. Strong alliances are in the United States' best interest.
We highlighted in the beginning as well the European defense chiefs that are calling for a major rearmament to deter Russia. I mean, look, everyone seems to agree that Europe needed to spend more on defense, and many thank President Trump for that, for saying you really did push NATO countries, European NATO countries on this. How much do you think it will lead, though, to a change in Russia behavior? And the reason I ask is that if you just take where Marco Rubio went, Slovakia and Hungary, they're still taking barrels of oil from Russia, and they've been given a dispensation from President Trump himself. I mean, as a congressman, in terms of dealing with your colleagues there, what can be done about this?
Well, let me challenge the premise of what you just said, that somehow Donald Trump used his influence to convince Europe to spend more in defense. Remember, when Donald Trump took over, the United States was firmly standing behind Ukraine, including supplying them with a significant amount of arms. And in the middle of it, Donald Trump essentially took the side of Putin. I think the European countries had to look at each other and says, we can't rely on President Trump. We are going to have to rely more on themselves. We can all agree that that was a good thing that Europe is doing more in its own defense, but they're not doing it because of the encouragement as part of the alliance. They're concerned that the United States will not uphold its end of the bargain. That's what you see in the Munich Security Conference, is so many European leaders say we can't rely on the United States. The question really is, the fundamental question is this a forever thing? Are the trust in the United States gone forever? Or with a change of leadership in the White House, can we regain the United States' stature in this world and be a leader of the NATO alliance and a leader of the free world again?
This kid got game. I wish I was the father.
NBA star Stephen Curry trades his high tops for a producer and voiceover role in GOAT. The animated adventure stars Stranger Things' Caleb McLaughlin as a small goat with big hoop dreams. After debuting in IMAX theaters, Mamoru Hosada's Scarlet expands to traditional screens. The film follows a princess on a quest to avenge her father.
Heathcliff.
not enough. Not for her.
Emily Bronte's literary classic is retold in Wuthering Heights, with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi starring in the roles of Kathy and Heathcliff.
Name's Blaine. So beautiful.
Blaine? Oh, that's a major appliance. That's not a name.
John Hughes' teenage rom-com Pretty in Pink heads back to theaters for 4 days only in celebration of its 40th anniversary. Details at fathomentertainment.com. Always a duck man in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Hong Kong is the gourmet capital of Asia. You'll find great tastes everywhere in the city, with over 50 master chefs who've handpicked 250 restaurants. Download the Gourmet Guide now and discover the culinary treasures of Hong Kong.
Scott Curtis is a former FBI agent, and he joins me now. Scott, we certainly wish we had better news on this, but right now this remains a very stubborn mystery. I want to start with this glove that the FBI is analyzing. Realistically, how long does it take to get this DNA analysis back? And when will they know whether it can actually lead to a suspect?
Well, first of all, putting things in the right context here, what law enforcement is telling us is that this glove appears to be like the glove we see in the Nest Cam video footage there. That's not to say it is one of those gloves that that individual was wearing that night. In terms of the DNA that was collected off that glove there, once they enter it in the system, they should know within a week whether there's any matches of anybody that was previously entered in that system. And those would be individuals that had any dealings with law enforcement over the years, whether they were arrested or incarcerated. As an investigator, I would be more important to know whether there was any DNA that could be collected on the outside of that glove, because that would have meant that that glove was in contact with another human being.
Interesting. In terms of the video that we have been looking at, I interviewed the CEO of Ring, another doorbell camera company, and he obviously says that, look, this is an important piece of evidence. Do you believe it is proved to be that missing link that they need? I mean, without it, where would they be?
They'd be a lot further behind in this investigation without that video footage. That offered a lot of clues. I'm sure it's generated dozens, maybe hundreds of tips from the public. But still, we're looking at an individual who went through great lengths to conceal his identity. So it's harder unless somebody is a family member or a close personal friend of that individual. They would probably know that individual's build, mannerisms, and would hopefully call in a tip to law enforcement here. I think Savannah's message last night or yesterday was to generate some emotional cord here with people that know something about that individual or about this crime, and to hopefully motivate them to call law enforcement.
Should he also step down as the Olympic chief in Los Angeles?
Well, let me just say that here, LA 28, which is the committee that is involved with the Olympics, has the discretion. The board made a decision. I think that decision was unfortunate. I don't support the decision. I do think that we need to look at the leadership. However, my job as mayor of Los Angeles is to make sure that our city is completely prepared to have the best Olympics that has ever happened in Olympic history. So my focus is a little different, but the behavior of Maxwell, what they were involved in is abhorrent, and it's an issue that I've worked on for a long time.
I just want to be clear that I understand what you're saying. You don't have a role. You can't fire him, obviously.
I cannot fire him.
But you have an opinion, and your opinion is?
My opinion is that he should step down. That's not the opinion of the board.
Because he said he was going to sell his talent agency in order to spend more time dealing with the Olympics.
Exactly. But again, my focus has to be on preparing the city, and I will continue to do that.
On that note, there are several instances, more than several, of influencers accusing various people of being involved in the disappearance without any facts to back it up. What's your message to those perpetrating the rumors?
Well, first I want to take a moment to acknowledge how painful this moment is for the Guthrie family. Let's remember what's at stake here. A family is looking for their mother. And as painful as that must be already, imagine it being broadcast on television 24/7. And unfortunately, we're seeing these so-called journalists exploit the situation for clicks and likes. It's reprehensible. And I believe it's also a direct result of Trump discrediting legitimate journalism as fake news for the past 10 years. This has led to a rise of online bloggers pretending to be real journalists that are spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories. And unfortunately, someone I'm close to has fallen victim to this. Someone tweeted that he was a suspect and now he's being doxxed online. His family's receiving death threats. And all of this is a distraction from what really needs to happen is legitimate investigation from our law enforcement to try to find the perpetrator or perpetrators and bring Nancy Guthrie home.
Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie of Britain's royal family thrust into the spotlight after being named hundreds of times in the latest tranche of Epstein files. The saga involving the late sex offender had already engulfed both their parents, the former Prince Andrew and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. Now, new details have emerged about Epstein's friendship with the princess's mother, who seems to have brought her daughters into his orbit even after he was convicted for sex offences. A series of emails released by the Department of Justice indicate that Ferguson, Eugenie and Beatrice all visited Epstein in Miami in 2009, just 5 days after he was released from jail. He served 13 months for soliciting prostitution from a minor. "Do you need a ride?" Epstein asks before they lunch. "No, thank you," the former Duchess replies, adding, "It'll be myself, Beatrice and Eugenie," at a time when they were 20 and 19 years old. In a subsequent email, Ferguson tells Epstein, "Cannot wait to see you." A separate thread between Epstein and his personal assistant days earlier also appears to indicate that he paid about $14,000 for the trio's flights to the US. And here's another email chain, nearly 2 years later, in 2011, between Epstein, Ferguson and her then spokesperson. In it, the former Duchess says that Beatrice advised her on how to handle a British journalist to whom she had given a statement about Epstein. Just last year, Ferguson's spokesperson said she had cut off relations with Epstein, quote, as soon as she was aware of the extent of the allegations. But all these DOJ files suggest otherwise. As for Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, Beatrice and Eugenie's father, he remains under pressure from his ties to Epstein. The disgraced former prince has previously denied any wrongdoing, including after he reached an out-of-court settlement with a woman who said she was trafficked to him as a teen. Beatrice and Eugenie have kept a low profile through all of this, and there's no suggestion of wrongdoing simply because they've been named in the Epstein files. Dana, we have reached out to Ferguson's representatives for comment on these exchanges seen in the Epstein documents, and CNN has also sought to contact the princesses for comment, but we haven't heard back from any of them.
Dance. The company behind TikTok is vowing to curb its AI video tool after a backlash from Hollywood over this fake scene. Take a look. can you tell the difference? That AI video showing the likeness, of course, of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise was created with CDance 2.0. ByteDance launched the new tool just last week. It's prompted an uproar from major movie studios. Both Disney and Paramount Skydance reportedly sent cease and desist letters to protect their intellectual property, and ByteDance has now responded. It says, ByteDance respects intellectual property rights, and we have heard the concerns CDance 2.0. We are taking steps to strengthen current safeguards as we work to prevent the unauthorized use of intellectual property and likeness by users. Claire Duffy is in New York. Claire, do I have questions? We could kind of see this coming, right? So where are we in terms of what happened here? I mean, I would venture most people would be tricked by what they saw there. So in terms of intellectual property, guardrails really should be in place.
Yeah, Paula, this is exactly the kind of thing that Hollywood has been so concerned about since we've seen the release of tools like this that can easily create such hyper-realistic AI-generated videos. And what I thought was really notable about this situation is the director who created that clip using CDance 2.0. He said it was only a 2-line prompt to create. And so if you just think about that for a minute, if that video were created in real life by humans, you would have needed dozens of people, actors, people to set up the set and the lights, camera people, directors. Now you can create a really realistic looking clip with just a 2-line prompt to an AI video generator in a couple of seconds. I mean, that is really remarkable here. And that is why Hollywood stood up so quickly to address this. You saw legal threats from Disney and Skydance, Paramount. Now ByteDance is responding, saying that it will work on cracking down on unauthorized IP on this CDance platform. I think the challenge here is this is sort of a race to the bottom issue. You know, maybe you have ByteDance has enough of a reputation that it put at risk. It doesn't want to get in Disney's legal crosshairs, so it will take down player sort of thing who wouldn't allow entertainment companies realize that they can't push off this AI revolution forever. I mean, we saw Disney last year taking a $1 billion equity stake in OpenAI, allowing OpenAI to use its characters with its Sora AI video generator. And so I think that we're starting to see Hollywood sort of grapple with what this could mean, try to take control where they can with deals like this Disney OpenAI deal. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be really challenging to truly get their hands around and prevent these kinds of AI clips, Paula.
The mixed team event, this was brand new. How does it feel in this inaugural event at the Winter Olympics to have your name etched in the history books forever first?
It's such an incredible feeling. Like, it's a historic moment, and to be the first winners of this new event, that's just incredible.
And Matt, you just became the first British man to ever win skeleton and first 2-time gold medal Winter Olympian. Has the weight of this history hit you yet?
Definitely not. Definitely not. The only weight that's hit me is, to be honest, the weight of these. Like my neck is genuinely getting a bit sore from carrying these around. They're quite heavy. They're like half a kilo each. Yeah. So they're quite heavy, but I mean that's not a bad problem to have. But no, it definitely hasn't sunk in the history that we've been able to make here in the last few days. No.
So skeleton is a sport where you're literally throwing yourself down a tube of ice, 80 miles an hour. We're so fast. So that takes a special breed of person. What does that say about your personalities that you do this sport?
I think we love the adrenaline, clearly. But also I think you have to trust yourself so much and be so present. And I think it takes a certain kind of mind to be able to quieten out all of the noise and be so present with you and your set and make those really important decisions going down the track.
Now, when you do this new mixed team event, you're not racing just for yourself. Like, you have to race with a teammate. So, how much does trust come into this, and how do you build that trust, if so?
Trust is massive in it. I trust that any of my teammates would have gone down and put their best performance, and that's kind of all you can ask from someone. I think Tabby put down an amazing run and put me in good stead to go out and secure the gold. But it was, yeah, you kind of have to have trust in your teammate, and because we're such good friends off the ice as well, that also helps that.
All right, we're going to go a little rapid fire, just like Skeleton. All gas, no brakes, no overthinking.
Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Favorite pump-up song?
Probably Whitney Houston or something like that, you know? Yeah. Really gets me going.
I don't know. I don't really listen to music when warming up.
Who's more competitive between the two of you?
Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably me, yeah.
Who's more likely to miss the team